Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to Jedi Granville Productions. I am Jedi Granville, or as my government name has been known to be, Walter Ross, or Walt Baby Love, or even Sexual Chocolate, as some of my cohorts on Messenger and Facebook be calling me. But I just want to introduce you guys to a particular guest of mine who's related to me, Miss Emily Elliott Heron? Yes, Heron. I'm saying the name right. Yes. Welcome.
Yes.
We call it Emma Poo, but I won't be saying it like that. But welcome to my channel, and I hope you're ready to do this and have some fun talking about this particular film that we're going to be discussing, which is, and if I can get this to work right, Boys in the Hood, which was released 90. I mean, not 90. Well, it was released in 91, but turned 35 this year, this month. And I gotta say, looking back at it, because I didn't realize until now that this film was such a cultural impact that it did. Because I know when I first heard about it, it was just another film. But to kind of get it rolling here, when did you first hear about this film, and when did you first eventually did see this film?
The funny thing is, Mama took me to see this film.
Okay,
I
that's
had to be probably about what, 12,
close to 12. Yeah.
11, 12 o'clock? Yeah, 12. She took me to see it. And I think she didn't know what we was actually going to see when we went. But it was a lot of this and it was a lot of this. And yeah.
Mhm. And here's my question on that. Was it like around the time it came out, or did you go like maybe a month later to see what after it
No,
was released?
no, it was around about the time it came out.
Okay,
It was fresh. Yeah.
all right then. Because well, what did you think about it when you did see it? I mean, I know for your 11-year-old eye, or 12, no, 11-year-old eyes, what did you think about it? Seeing that.
At the time, I really didn't understand what I was seeing because we didn't grow up in something like that, in an environment like that. So I really couldn't understand certain aspects of it.
Right.
Um, in certain parts, I did, if that makes sense.
No, that totally
Um,
makes sense.
we didn't know about the struggles. We didn't walk seeing dead bodies, and you know what I'm saying. It was just, it was an eye opener to someone who was sheltered and who didn't grow up in an environment like that. To see something like that, I was like, wow. And then as I got older, and we rewatch movies, and I experienced things, especially when I moved out of Louisiana for that little time when I went to Houston, I understood it more. The impact on it hit me a little bit more.
See, and see, that's the thing I've realized. Because the thing about this film, it's primarily a black cast, so
Yes.
that was the attraction anyway. And I know myself, I would go see this film. I think it was like the tail end of July. I know I did go see it, because the only reason I think I really did go see it because of the controversy that happened around that time, which was there were, and I don't know, this shows how ignorant black folks can be, or as I say, and anyone's watching, niggas get like that, and it's sad that it happens that way. Prior to this film coming out, another film came out called New Jack City, and it was more glossed over, kind of glamorized, gangster life and all that stuff. And someone shot up the theater that it was being shown at and everything. Sad to say, this film had the same kind of treatment in terms of someone said, let's unload in the theater and act buck wild and do all this other stuff. I'm like, y'all can't have something nice in terms of showing or portraying the life you live and letting Hollywood. Because remember, this movie was a real, how can you say, very, very, like I say, not so much nonchalant, but it's something almost forbidden to be shown in let's just say it, white Hollywood, because when you see a movie like this and it's predominantly dealt with ethnicity, which is black people, and it's
Yeah.
dealing with something, dealing with crime and everything, you don't want to show that. But the thing about it is, the director, which was John Singleton, and this is the thing about this, John Singleton, along with Cuba Gooding Jr., Ice Cube, and Morris Chestnut, who I never even heard of, Kubi or Chestnut, until I saw this film. This was John Singleton's first outing as a director and writing. And let's just say that he grew up in that climate back when
Right.
he was back in the early 80s, and he knew what, and he wanted to portray those elements, put it out there. And the funny thing is about this is that he, you know, sure, the studio is, and this is how Hollywood works. You already know Hollywood is all about making money, but they
Hmm.
want to make safe money, and they
Hmm.
feel like, oh, we're gonna show the rough life of some urban territory of a certain community and all that. Blah, bruh, you done West Side Story, you done other films in the past. You mean to tell me you can't show the environment of '90s, teenagers or whoever dealing with the problems of South Central as it was back then, or even before that? So it's crazy knowing that that was the thing he had to go through, that red tape he had to deal with. And honestly, thankfully, someone believed in him enough to say, okay, give it a shot, try it out. And the funny thing is, it's really weird that knowing that when I first heard about John Singleton, I didn't know who this guy was, but I was proud to know that this is a black man, this is a black individual who's actually not just directing but writing. And and it's like it paid off in terms of people watching it. It's like, whoa, I didn't know this film was going to be this deep in terms of what it is. Because honestly, we can honestly say that films after this kind of fall suit with it. I mean, like
Yeah.
Menace to Society. I'm trying to think like Dead Presidents and some other various films after this really honed in the very dark, street life of people coming up, and sometimes it was set in like the '60s or the '70s or even in the '80s, but it was a real um, documentation of why or how we as individuals grew up, or at least that
Hmm.
part of the world grew up with it. Because, like you said before, we didn't grow up with that kind of that environment. I mean,
Right.
you can honestly say that. I mean, because I can say, growing up, and and I guess this shows how strong-minded individuals like my mom, your grandma, was making sure that she kept that element out of our system. She knew about it because, like I say, she lived in Chicago for a good while,
Right.
and up there, and where she lived at, she had to deal with that with her kids at the time. So it's like she comes back down here, and here I am born, and I'm just like, I would never know about these things unless somebody that I know knew about it or lived that life. And
Yeah.
that's the crazy thing, because knowing that you've, like I say, lived a life, and I'll ask this question to you: did you know anyone particularly that lived that style of environment, that style of mental clashing, dealing with those kind of things growing up? When you, well, not even saying when you saw this film, but afterwards, did you know anyone who lived those kind of lifestyles?
Yes. 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 Most definitely. Um, like I said, all of my experiences was when I left Louisiana and when I did move to Houston and I met people who was from California. I met people who was from Chicago. They led that lifestyle. They knew about it. It's like they could literally live that movie. And to hear some of the stories that they used to say, it just I was thankful that I didn't have to live it personally.
See, because that and I'll ask you this too. Like you're your grandmother's granddaughter for sure. You have her spirit in many ways. So, do you think if push come to shove, would you be able to deal with the that madness that goes on, like in this film or even films later on? Would you be able to deal with it, or would it like put you in a catatonic state of like I can't take this kind of mood?
Me being me and my mentality that I have, I feel like I could deal with it. Now, would it take a toll on my mental every single day? Of course.
Right.
I mean, yes. But could I live through it? I could.
Okay.
Would it be hard? Most definitely. You know what
Okay.
I'm saying? Like I said,
Right.
would my mental be just messed up battling? Most definitely. But how we are in our bloodline, we could
Yes.
live through anything. You know what I'm saying?
That's that. It's well. See, that's a see.
Grandmama was one strong woman,
Right. See, and that's and see.
and
You
she
bring up
instilled that in all of us.
because see when you see something like this, like I say, gunfire, all that stuff. It's like yeah, we know we need to duck and cover, but we also know we need to. We're, she instilled that survival instinct in us. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize. Even though you may not have the mother, or put it like this, you both have the mother and the father element. You
Mhm.
still have someone who's like, because it almost feels like going back to like good times, back to those
Yeah,
days, where you had a father and a mother and they were strong willed, they teach their kids, blah, blah, blah. But it did be realistic because because I won't go into much detail about that, but they killed off James Evans' character, and then the
mhm,
mom had to step in and really, rear the kids. And it's a real, and something like that, because it didn't deal with gang violence or anything like that. Although there was a few elements of gangster life coming in, intruding into the world, it
right.
still showed that they kept their heads, they kept their minds to the grindstone, and not allow something to stir them off the path, the straight and narrow. So it's a good representation with this film that even though the character of Trey Styles, has a mother and a father, both are some kind of strong element where he's able to not veer off the path. Like I say,
Yeah.
and I should say point out some of the actors like Angela Bassett, and this is the first time I was introduced to her because I'd never seen her in anything until this film. You know,
Yeah.
uh, Trey Styles' mom, and then of course you got good old Lawrence, but he was called Larry at this time. Lawrence Fishburne playing Furious Styles, and I had to say, when I first heard that name Furious, it's like that's just like say I guess because being black and say we're just gonna call him that, Furious. But it's like I say, it's this is why I say this is urban life, and this is life that we're known about, but we didn't live the lifestyle that these individuals live.
Mhm.
And knowing that they lived it, it's like, man, you feel like okay, nothing should really happen. But if anything, John was pretty much showing that no, I mean, life happens, and you deal with what you got to do, but you gotta have to end up realizing like anything is possible. Anything is bound
Right.
to throw you off, and how it happens, it happens. So kind of get the story going. Yeah, this film came out like I say 35 years this month, and like I say, it was directed by a young John Singleton, who with this cast here, and honestly, was it a surprise to you when you went to go see? Because did you know about Ice Cube at this time? Did you know him as a rapper, or did you know him at all? In
Yes, yes, yes. Who
okay,
didn't know about Ice Cube? I'm just saying.
right. So, well, did it surprise you to see him in this film playing the 17? And that's another thing I have to wonder. In the movie, we hear that the mom, I mean, one of the guys say, Dookie say, Rick and Doughboy got different daddies, but in the movie, or in say at least in the credits, they say they're both the same age. It's like that's not possible. You know, they one's have to be older than the other one. So I'm feeling that Doughboy has to be a little older than Ricky.
Have
You
to be a
know,
little older than Ricky. Yeah.
so he has to be a little older. But the point I'm making is that were you surprised when you saw him in this film, at least in terms of being picked for this?
No,
Okay.
I wasn't. Mm-mm.
So when you saw him in the film, it's like, oh shit, there's Ice Cube. He's in the film and everything. And I know,
Exactly.
like I say, you was 11 years old, but it's like, oh shit, he's in this. So it's
Yeah.
like, well, that's a treat.
Now I didn't know anything about Morris or
Kubi,
Cuba.
yeah,
Yeah.
Cuba, yeah. Because like I said before, I never knew who these guys were. These were newbies. They were somebody, but I think that was the whole point that John Singleton was going for. Because
Hmm.
side note, and I'm pretty sure some people know this who watch this. Will Smith was actually the first person to play Trey. Okay, he
I
was
didn't
his
know
go-to.
that.
He was the first. He was the go-to. He was the go-to to play Trey. But the reason why, and the funny thing is, somebody was saying that he would be able to do the part because he's been on Fresh Prince for like a year and a half now. So it's like, and he probably wouldn't do a good job at that. But this is the thing about Will Smith. Yeah, he was another rapper. He was another R&B rapper and everything. He was an entertainer. But you would see later on in that series, and if you've seen this series where his father comes back
Hmm.
and intervenes in his life, and then when he leaves again, dude, I'm like, I can't see that. I can't see that episode. I can't see that moment without breaking down because it's like, here we go. He's letting off some emotions. He's showing off his range of how effective he really can act. So, and
Very versatile.
yeah, he's very versatile, and he could, and if he could have, if he was picked to play the part, maybe. But I think the reason why he wasn't picked either because he was with a contract with the show, so it's like if he comes on there, it's like maybe that would kind of give a bad taste in people's minds because he's playing a comedic role on
Right.
the show. But it's like, but you have some dramatic moments in that show anyway, and
Hmm.
that was one of them because I know from what I've heard, the moment where James Avery hugs Will Smith's characters, hugs him, hug him and let him know it's like don't cry, like that. James Avery whips it in Will Smith's ear, saying like, "Now that's acting."
Yeah, I heard
So,
that story. Yeah.
yes. See, this is the thing. See, this is why I feel like you don't know who's gonna do well with anything with material that's being given to them, but it's sad to say, we'll never really know. But we do know that he could
Right.
have pulled it off if he got the chance, But hey,
Right.
like I say, uh, potato. Will like I say, you move on, and like I say, with this film, it was just one of those films that I was like, wow, I never expected. So, kind of going into the story with it. It starts off pretty much, with the logo, it's released by Columbia Pictures. And I guess it's like John Singleton is pretty much not giving you no like any time to really process because all we hear is this over this this sound bite where we hear some guys that say these guys are tripping, and it's like you hear this, it's like this voiceover of these guys saying, we're gonna blast somebody because they tripping and blah blah. I'm like, he's pretty much saying people do this just because they feel offended. They can't do it in with their hands. They got to do it with a bullet. You know,
Yeah.
you hear it. These guys like say, get your gat ready, get your gun ready, go on. It's like and immediately we see the title Boys in the Hood, but we hear this gunfire. Someone's getting shot, and of course we hear. Well, like I said, we see the title say, one out of so many black males get killed in a certain time, and we hear that sobbing voiceover where this voice says, "They shot my brother. They shot my brother." It's like that's the thing that really capitalized. Like you're killing others, but it's like, what benefit does that bring? It brings
Right.
nobody. It's like you killing somebody just because you got offended by them. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, God damn, dude, it's like you can't let this go. It's like, no, you can't do that. So the story goes into the beginning of it is 84. And we see a young Trey Styles. He's he's going to school with some of the friends and everything. And I'm gonna be honest with you. When I first saw this, and because I know I've been seeing. That's one thing about films back in the day, or at least music videos when they were viable. They kind of told a story on its own. But I thought the little boy that's in the film, I thought that was a whole other side story. What I mean is, I thought Cuba Gooding and this little boy, I thought they were two different characters. I didn't know they were the same character. I didn't know they was, because when I saw the title saying that it was in South Central 84, I'm thinking like, I was like, okay, I'm thinking it's set right into now, not
Yeah.
back then. But come to find out, it's like, oh shit, that's two different. I mean, that's two different timepieces, and it's like it's the same person. I didn't realize that. And with that, I'll ask you this: did you figure that they were the same person? That
I
young
did.
boy,
Yeah.
you guessed it. Okay. See, I didn't figure that out until I went to go see the film, and it's like, oh shit, that's the same person. But I would, like I say, I would never know until you watch the film, and then you realize, like, oh, okay, this is what's going on, and this is what's happening, and so on and so on. So, like I say, you watch the film, you watch the beginning of it, you see that the lifestyles of kids in South Central is a little different than the kids, because you got this white teacher explaining history, but notice that you see posters or drawings of the kids on the wall, and you see them. It's like very distinctive of what they have to experience, what they see. Where the police are involvement or helicopters flying around. And in fact, there's a moment. That's one thing I've noticed too. Rewatching this, it's like notice that you hear helicopters flying over
Mm-hmm.
every second. It's like that's the normal. That's the norm for anyone living in that environment.
Yeah.
So we see we see that Trey he's pretty smart. He's very smart. He's very intelligent, but he can't. He it's kind of like mom. She can't keep her mouth shut. He gets into this scuffle with this boy. Tell him, I'll shoot you. I'll shoot you. I'll get my brother to shoot him. Say, when little Trey says, get your punk ass bitch, get your punk ass bitch brother, man. I'll get my daddy. At least I got one, motherfucker. I'm like, dude. I'm like, this is a teen. This is a teen. Look, I would not start saying motherfucker until I was like maybe in my late teens, at least. I would never think to be saying that when I was like, back when I was 10 years old. I mean, I'm like, my thought process was like cartoons, going to the movies or whatever, So like that was my thing. But for a 10-year-old saying that, I was like, damn, dude. It's like, but that shows the environment that you see. That's
Right.
how effective they were dealing with. And you see where, especially when he goes walking home, you see some guys playing craps, and someone must have cheated. And you see home, and you just see Trey just walking, and one of the guys sees that the guys, cheating him, and he just like bam, it's like that's not if we see. And I'll ask you this, not from the movie, but knowing that if you saw something like that back then, would you be affected by that? Seeing that kind of response, I'd like to say.
I don't know. Um, Probably so. Then again, who knows? I mean, we was living in a different day and time, so
In a different place too. That's another.
right, in a different place, a different atmosphere. So I really can't say.
Because that's kind of the thing. There is that there's moments where because there's moments where we see an ice cream truck come around. I know
Mhm.
when ice cream cups used to come around, they don't do it anymore. Kids were running, going to
Yeah.
get something else. Like that was a thing. And to me, when I see that, that was a little bit of nostalgia, or a little bit of what seemed to be a sense of stability or sanity
Mhm. Yeah.
for his kids. Because, like I say, he gets expelled. Well, I say expelled. He gets thrown out of that school, and he goes to live with his father because he's a boy.
Mhm.
He needs a strong father figure. Now, I personally didn't have that. You already know the story of all that. I
Yeah.
didn't have that. Okay. My mom, in case anyone know, and I should say, let me uh show this. What's up, Olvin? How you doing? Doing okay? Um, my mom had to be the father and the mother,
Mhm.
but to me, I feel like she did a good job because let me just say that if my mom caught me doing half of the stuff that was in this film or anything that was going on, she would have buried my ass. Okay, there's no
Basically, yeah.
that's no bullshit. She would have done that.
No
So
doubt.
it's but here, Trey had to go live with his father because I don't feel he had because like I say, he was desensitized. And I think that's what you basically can say about wherever you live at. You are desensitized what it is. And he was involved with, that kind of mindset. So goes live with his father, Furious. And and at the time I didn't realize that like I say, Angela Bassett and I guess because they were both in Lawrence Fishburne, they were of the exact kind of age that they were portraying because they had Trey when they were in their teens. So it's like that's another thing I realized because I know when I went to junior high, that was something that was new to me. Teen pregnancies, you know,
Yeah.
I was not aware, I was not privy to that before anything. I knew some girls, just some, not a lot, because that's the thing. It was very taboo at the time, but it was. They're not saying it wasn't happening. Girls were having basically babies having babies.
Babies
So
having
I knew.
babies. Yeah.
I remember this one girl. She was 13, and she had a child and everything. And I was kind of like, that's kind of like, damn. It's like 13-year old. She's not even out of school. Everything, she's having a kid. Because I thought the norm was you go to school, get out, do whatever, and then have kids, whatever. Flash forward to now, that shit is like a factory. You see people having kids like on a like a basis. Like it's it's no sense of like we're gonna have babies and the government's gonna pay for all this. It's like that's the norm now. Back then it wasn't. I
Yes.
mean, especially here, it's like that now. And you think it was like that. I mean, it was like that in California, maybe New York. Here it
Right.
wasn't like that. Now go out and it's like you got some households got 5 or 6 kids from
Mm-hmm.
different. I'm
Yep.
like, Lord, man. But that was the norm though. And for me at the time, I didn't think that was going to be increasingly more than that later on. But go figure, this was a foreshadowing of something that was to come, at least here in Monroe, Louisiana. And if you
Most
think about it,
definitely.
yeah. So, but anyway, get into, with Trey, and his father. Basically, Furious is, like I say, he has to teach him how to be a man. He has to do whatever.
How to be a man. Hmm.
How to be a man. And we're introduced to, the other characters, which is important, which is Doughboy and Ricky. And when we're introduced to Doughboy, at least in the sense of like, that's how as again, the norm, we're introduced to us by his mom, which is played by Tara Farrell. And she pretty much is saying, you ain't shit. You
Right.
ain't gonna
Right.
amount to shit.
You
You
ain't
ain't
gonna
gonna
never be shit.
shit, and you ain't gonna amount to shit. You just all you do around here is eat, sleep, and shit. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't know why. This like I say, this was nothing like mom, but she would definitely say what she said next. She's like, "Don't get smart with me. I'll knock your ass in the next week." That was that say when I heard that, I was like, "That's mama. That's my mama
Right.
right there." She,
Right.
you know, but you see that she's a product of the environment also.
Hmm.
She's only like that also. And she has to deal with it. So we see that Ricky, he's playing with a football and whatever, and we see this other character named Chris, who we'll see later. You know, they go walking, and that's the thing about this. You're still being used, but you're used in an environment where it's like whatever is normal to or unnormal to us is normal for them because Chris asked him, "It's like you want to go see a dead body?" And it's like, "Yeah." I'm like, I'm like, who wants to see? I'm like, no. I'm like, because if someone was to ask you, especially if you was that age, if someone had asked you, like, would you want to go see a dead body? It was like,
I'd be like, hell no.
yeah,
But
it's
we have to think about it too, Unc. That was their norm.
right.
They were used to that.
See,
You know what I'm saying? It was just the normal thing to be walking down the street to see a dead body.
because it's
Crazy.
always because there's always some shooting. It was also it's like so when
Right.
they do run up on and they see the dead body, it's like you just sit, it's flying out. And these guys come around, it's like, and Trey says, like, don't you see there's a dead body right here? And this shows right there, it's like, so who gives a
He ain't
shit?
bothering you.
Yeah, it ain't bothering you. So shut the
Right.
fuck up. I'm just like, like I say, at the time when I'm watching this, I just realized, like, okay, that's just how this is. This is what's going on. But looking back, it's like they really were, like I say, this was really how it was. And I'm just like,
Hmm.
wow. I mean, I just never would imagine that this is what was going through, what they were dealing with in that kind of mindset. So, like I
Right.
said, Trey and them, I mean, Doughboy, like it's like, and Doughboy gets into a scuffle with the guy because he steals the ball from Ricky. Gets the scuffle. He gets the ball back. Ricky does. Trey, I mean not Trey, but Ricky, I mean Doughboy and Chris go somewhere so they can get go jack somebody, and we realize that Trey is somebody who's being raised by a good man. He's not
Right.
someone like just like oh see he. This is one of the things you can see when watching this film is that the strong male archetype
Hmm.
for the children because and this is what's so crazy nowadays. They tell us that men are no good, that men are not. It's like, okay, you really believe that? Because I see 9 out of 10 some guys especially around here, your husband included, who do a damn good job of being a provider, being a father, being a dad, being a husband, being whatever. And you saying that there are good men in the world. It's like, okay, well, that shows
Right.
right there. You don't need it. Well, that shows right there. A, you've been dealing with these Chad and Tyrones, and it shows right there you don't know what a good man is, because the second you get a good man, you can say, "Oh, he's boring." It's like right there. You don't need a good man. You just,
Hmm.
as someone would say, you belong to the streets.
You belong to the
Basically,
streets. That's right.
you belong to the streets. So, but anyway, we see that Trey and Furious are, fishing, and I don't even know if they're. I mean, because like I say, I've been to California once, but I wouldn't know if that particular. Then again, like I say, I kind of drove close to Orange County, which is close to where LA is. So
Hmm.
maybe, but where the fishing spot they were fishing at, I don't. I'm like, is that close to where Compton is? I don't know for sure. But anyway, Furious pretty much is being a father to
Hmm.
Trey. He's telling him, he's like, you know, I went into the military, and he tells him like, don't go into the military, don't go in the army. A black person ain't got no reason going there. Whatever. And it's the kind of thing you realize when you're watching this, that this is the reason why you show that strong male, archetype, to show how you can make a man out, make a boy make a boy into a man.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, as I say again, I didn't really have that. Now I could say I had a little bit with my brother, you
Right.
know, but he kind of I give him this. He did his best, but I
Hmm.
think you really still need that father figure, which is the one who birthed you. You know.
Right.
So, but anyway, kind of going to the with the story. Furious and Trey are coming back from the fishing, they're just giggling, they're playing, and we see Doughboy and Chris coming out of his house again, normal environment,
Hmm.
10-year-olds in shackles. You would never think to see 10-year-olds, at least for me, arrested, you know.
Right.
And the guys, and some of the guys said, they going to juvie. No, man, they going to the gates. I'm just like, damn, you mean they're gonna be tossed up like that? That's for real. That's how it's like, damn, But it's again, this is the kind of thing where we as individuals, like I said, okay, we're like I said, we're black and we're watching this, and the environment we're living in, we really don't have no clue as to how this works or how
Hmm.
things go about. And I'm gonna be honest with you here. I'm saying this now. When I was about their age, maybe a little older, I did do some shit like that. I did go into a store and steal some stuff, but and I'm not proud of it, but I feel like doing that is a representation of like showing that if you don't need it, you shouldn't be doing it. But if you
Right.
know it's wrong, you're still doing it. That shows right there that you don't care. And I look back at it, it's like, what the fuck was I thinking? Back then. But but anyway, fortunately, I didn't get caught. But
Right.
I feel for anybody else, it might be different. But anyway, we see them going to jail. See them incarcerated and everything. And this is where I realized, like, oh shit. So we're not staying in '84. We're going to the present, which is 7 years later, '91. I was like,
Hmm.
okay, I didn't realize that. So a lot of information is brought to us when we see this. We see this one shot where this kid, this little baby, is walking out to this, little gathering, and we see something about, welcome home, Doughboy.
Hmm.
We don't know who this baby is. We just thinking like maybe it's the mom, uh, Ricky and Doughboy's mom. Turns out I guess Ricky, you know, it's like, yeah, he likes football, but he likes Punani too, you know. Because I'm like, good Lord, dude, you mean tell me you couldn't waste no time? You couldn't hold back? You couldn't keep it in your pants? You felt like that's his son. I was like, damn. I'm like, all right then. I guess okay. Hey, nothing. Hey, I just it just seems to me like you could have waited, but you know, but no, he's like, no, I'm gonna do this now. So we get that information and we see this at barbecue, and it's just like, and then we see, you know, the grown up, you know, well, really, if you think about it, the grown, well, not so much grown, but the older versions of Trey, Doughboy, and Ricky, and
Mm-hmm.
and then we do see the Chris, who's older, but he's in a wheelchair now, you know. Um, and see, that's another reality that they was dealing with, and you know, contemplating whatever, you know. But anyway, we they're just sitting, like I say, and we get to see some other characters too that are brought to life that we saw earlier, like Brandy, played by
Mm-hmm.
Nina Long, who's another person. I think, did I know her before this? I think I did. I think because she was on, yeah, in fact, she was on Fresh Prince of
She
Bel
was on
Air.
Fresh Prince. Yeah.
Yeah, she was on there before this. So I did know her, but I didn't know like Regina King here with Yo Yo. You know, don't play
Mm-hmm.
with my Yo Yo. um, no, in fact, no, I did know Regina King. What am I talking about? I did know Regina King. She was on 227. I forgot. That's right. She was
Yeah.
on that. She was on that. Now, you know what? Now, that's funny. I knew the female female actresses, but I didn't know the males. I mean, I didn't know who they are. I knew Ice Cube, but I didn't know no I didn't know the other three. You know, so it's like, damn. So but I think that was the whole point of what Singleton was trying to do. He was trying to give you some unknown actors so you can relate to them, what they're
Relate
going.
to him a little bit more. Yeah.
So, but all through all this, we're seeing the different individuals' interaction and everything. And I always love that moment when we pull up to a Doughboy, they playing dominoes, and he just says, "Domino, motherfucker!" You know, it's crazy, you know. And we're introduced to two other characters, Dookie and Mountain. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and they're just playing. You know, and I love how that dialogue is presented with that. Okay, that's another thing about the writing is the dialogue is. I mean, true enough, John grew up in this environment. He grew up in this, you know, this kind of climate, and he knows the lingo. He knows what to be
Mm-hmm.
saying. You know, like Mark. You know, it's like trick. You know, all these things, and it's like, but this is what makes me realize how much of a difference in environment that you're raised, because I knew slang of some sorts growing up, and there was some slang I didn't know. But he shows too that not everyone has to talk with that kind of dialogue. In other words, you do not have to talk so, you know, ghetto-ish,
Ghetto.
hoodish.
Right.
You
Mm-hmm.
can talk with a very you can pronunciate your words, enunciate, and talk with a clear and conscious head, and talk with some sense of intelligence, and
Right.
knowing that it doesn't seem like, oh, you don't know nothing. And
Right.
this is the other thing about one thing I would have to point out. Ice Cube himself is probably one of the most intellectual individuals I know, because see, that's something I think a lot of people don't realize. Like, not because he write the lyrics that he writes, the songs he makes or whatever, he's a very well educated individual. He's a well educated man. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he's not one of these ignorant black individuals.
Right.
I feel like that's it's sad that, you know, some hip hoppers don't get that recognition. You know, Biggie was one of them, Tupac was another,
Mm-hmm.
uh, definitely Snoop Dogg, you know, and various others. They have a very strong mental, you know, intelligence. But
Right.
you can't get that because it's like, oh, we rapping about hoes, we rapping about the cars, like it's like you do realize it takes brains to make that shit up, right? So, but anyway, to get in the back of this, like we see that the living in the hoods is it's 91, and I'm just like saying, you just see the interaction with one another, with everybody, and that moment when he comes back from the barbecue, gives his father, a plate. I have to say this is relatable to me a little bit because my late father, he asked this same damn question to me. In fact, he asked me this question after I got when I graduated from high school. He actually asked me, although Chuck would ask me that same damn question. He said, "You get some pussy?" I was like, "Are you serious, man? Really?" I'm like, and Fear is actually asking, like, when he said, like, I'm like, this is so too close to home. It's like that's exactly what my father. And I was like to myself, I'm just thinking to myself, what father? But then I realized, like, yeah, some fathers do that. They ask their sons, especially their sons, like, have you got some? Have you got it with a woman? Have you get? It's like, and bless his heart, it's like, why would you ask your son, no matter how old he is? And my father would keep asking me that until he passed away. Have you got some? You got some? I was like, Dad, no. Okay, that's none of your business. Like, what? Why is it? Why is that even an important topic? But the thing about this, when you see this, when he's telling the story about this girl that he got some with. Now I don't know if you, like I say, for an 11-year-old when you saw this, but like years later, could you tell that Trey was lying to his
Yes,
father?
most definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah,
Yes.
because it's like, dude, don't think. I mean, like, dude, I'm like, I'm looking at this not because it's a flashback, but I was like, the way he's describing things, like, yeah, you lying, dude.
You lying. Yeah.
You ain't do shit. You did that. No, no, get the fuck out of here. So
Right.
it's really funny, and those kind of moments and everything. So we pass, like I say, we see this montage of just different images where just like I say, Normandy in the hood. Like we see Ricky at high school. He's a football player,
Hmm.
and his interactions with everything. And then we see Doughboy and the rest of the guys. And the scene that I love the scene where this chain snatcher grabs Dookie's chain, and boy, Doughboy like a fucking he's like a bat out of hell. He and Mountain just chase this nigga, and then, like they start curve stopping his ass. It's like that. Like, and Chris is like saying, "Fuck him up, man, fuck him up," you know. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, and the people walking, they're just like, oh, somebody's getting fucked up. Oh, well,
Yeah. Okay. Let's go on about our business.
yeah. And Doogie takes a trash can, just like, bam, it's like
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. And the one thing, and the other thing that it kind of tripped me out because when we're seeing, because we see it in like Brandy and Trey,
Mhm.
Trey trying to get in them pants, that's what he's trying to do. We see that while just Trey, I mean Doughboy and Monster, Chris, and them, just chilling out. Here comes some senoritas coming by, and Doughboy lays some game, just faking it, just kind of faking it.
Yeah.
When he's like, "Why don't you come to my casa? We do the local thing." Now, me personally, I probably do that. I might, what you call, face crack, lands on the ground. One of them comes right back to Doughboy. I'm like, and I mean, you hear Mountain say, that shit work. It's like, how the hell did that work? How the fuck would that work? It's like, but you just never know who's gonna get slayed by that. And I'm just like, okay, I guess
Right.
it
Right.
works. Work it out. And 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 just out of curiosity, has anybody, like you say, when you was growing up, when you was a teenager, did any guy try to run game on you like that, trying to say something like that to that effect?
Of course, all the time.
Okay.
All the time. Plus, you have to remember when I was growing up, your nephew, my brother,
Hmm.
it was kind of like I was the challenge. We got to get his sister. Let me try to talk to his like you know what I'm saying. So
Okay.
they ran game all the time. Never worked.
Right.
Never worked.
And see, watching that in the movie, I was like, how did him just saying that line brought that girl back? I'm like, just that one girl back. I'm like, come on now. I mean, there's no way. But but like you say, we're like I say, things that's going on in this film is, it's just the life that these guys live, and everything.
Mhm.
We see that they're playing, what's that game it was called? Where Homeboy Mountain was playing, saying, "Watch me shoot this motherfucker!" Bam, and
What is it? Duck Duck Hunt, something
it
like
might be
that.
Duck Hunt. I'm thinking it was. And I
Yeah,
remember.
Duck Hunt or something.
Yeah, but this is just another little thing going on where Ricky's got this college recruiter coming in, and you see that yes, they live in an environment that they live, but it doesn't mean that they can't be civil enough to like wear nice clothes and be civil and everything. And the moment, like I say, I'll get to the part where they're on the porch, where the recruiter's talking to Ricky. I mentioned before, how that's the thing you constantly hear. You hear the helicopter passing over. You see Rick look up. It's like that's the thing. And even the recruiter's like, "Oh wow," they're like, "That's." But that to me, if you really think about it, true enough, he's black, but that shows right there he's another person of a product of the environment. He, or then again, he may have, but he didn't live as close to or in that environment that they do,
Right.
because you see how he's looking around. He's trying to find this particular house, and he doesn't get. It's when you are afraid of your own people, like that's kind of messed up, you know.
Yeah.
But no, we're Doughboy and the guys are just sitting on the porch and they're talking shit, just like talking shit. And that moment where some car goes by, you hear this bass just booming. I don't know why. I said the same thing that the Doughboy says, like, damn, that bass is booming. I'm just like, that's the normal talk, and at least, especially at that time, because like I say, we did have some people around here in
Hmm.
cars that had that kind of booming system.
Yeah.
But that, like I say, their interaction was just that norm. It's like, and it's going around, blah blah blah. He tells the recruiter tells Ricky that if you get this SAT score at like I say, at least a 700, you should be able to get in. So like I say, it's just a no. And see, this is the thing: we are aware of the things that goes on around where the hood. You hear shoot gunshots, you hear that, but this is where we realize, because I'm going to cut you know, to the parts where it gets kind of more darker. Because up until this time, in fact, I'll ask you this: around the time where they go to see Furious, a financial place and everything, did you even think about anything as far as seriously bad going to happen, or at least just say, okay, I don't feel that we just they just trying to survive kind of motif.
Eh, In my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like it was a just trying to survive a day by day.
Right,
I didn't think anything bad was going to happen like it did.
right,
You know what I'm saying? Like that shocked me, even being young watching it. I remember crying.
right. Like the same with me.
And I think it was because of the name, of course. Ricky. You get what
Right.
I'm saying? And just
Right. Well, you know what? Now it didn't even
at that
yeah.
time, yeah, at that time, putting two and two together, it did something to me, and it
Right.
made me think about our Ricky. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Um, but I think that was when they went to that billboard and Furious was talking to him, and he had the other gangbangers out there, and then the old man was
Right.
speaking. Also, I felt like that was a real important part of the movie that probably a lot of people didn't take away from, if that makes sense.
No.
Because Furious was speaking facts,
Yeah.
straight facts
Which
that
is
I
still
think
relevant now.
still relevant to this day. And I think that went over a lot of people's heads.
And see, and I'm pretty sure I don't like I said I don't know with you because you was like I said you was about 11, but I know when I was listening to him when I saw this, it's like that's exactly true. It's like we don't own no planes, we don't own no
Mhm.
ships or anything like that. We don't. It's like, and he says like, why is there a liquor store on every corner in
On
a
every
black
corner.
neighborhood? Why is there a gun shop in every like they wanted to kill ourselves? And it kind of stuck in my mind listening to this because it's like, yeah, because I do know there's some liquor stores close. I mean, like right now, before we had one, there was no liquor store close to where I live at. But it
Hmm.
is, but it was like shit. It was like 20 years ago. It was built. We
Hmm.
have one, but there was one like over the overpass over the highway where I live at, and you could say that was relatively where it was. It was in smack dab in the black neighborhood. So, but like I say, he's spitting facts, and it's and of course here's and this is why I feel like he did Singleton was trying to bring out the dude says like, what am I supposed to do? You know, guy try to shoot me, I'm going to kill him back. I'm trying to get it like, and it's like that's the mentality of these because you got to think of yourself. It's supposed to be a white against black thing, but it's a black on black thing. It's like
Hmm.
why would you entertain that? Why would you allow yourself to be desensitized and thinking like if one does something to you, you got to do something back to them. It's like you can't just let the chips fall where they may and just move on. You can't do that. It's like he's breaking it down and letting he's telling these people that basically stop fighting one another. We can get out of this. I mean, and truth be told, there were many hell. I mean, I don't know if you remember, there was a lot of rap songs at that time that kind of broke that down. No, Public Enemy did some. KRS-One did some of these. You know, in fact, that song that came out. In fact, two songs, the East Coast and West Coast. Self Destruction on the East Coast, and we're all in the same gang on the West Coast. Kind of pretty much saying, stop the violence. Stop all this stupidity. But we already know that somehow it's so ingrained in some people's mindset. It's like we can't stop it. You know,
Right.
and I don't
Right.
think it's necessarily just a black thing either. It's just how, and see, that's the thing. Knowing when I watch the film or just watch human beings in general, some of us are too hardwired to let things go. We act like children. We act worse than children, and we continue on to do it because like that's who we are. And I think that's something that Singleton was doing too. Yeah, he's showing the environment that he lived in and what they were doing, but he's also showing that just because you are black, that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen to someone else. White
Right.
people go through this,
Hmm.
Hispanics go through this, Asians, any spectrum of the color go through these ordeals. And it's sad knowing that somebody can't work something out, and it's
Right.
still like that today, which is pitiful, you know. But no, they go to like I say the billboard, they did, and then they go to Crenshaw, on the drive, and everything. And this is where, you know, this is something, a crucial moment where this dude named Ferris, he's just somebody who loves to start shit, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And he bumps into Ricky, and he said, and Ricky said, "What's wrong with you?" He's like, you got a problem? What the fuck you got a problem with, nigga? He's like, I'm still trying to figure out, nigga, Or he said, what you looking at, nigga? Something like that.
And can
And
I just say, this was one of my favorite moments of Doughboy. I'm just gonna put it out there. When he was like, he stepped out and he was like,
yeah,
problem here. Like, I just loved it.
right. It's like he's
Because
standing.
it was kind of like that's my brother. Even though that's still my brother. That's still my blood.
That's my blood. Yes.
Yes.
That's the thing, and that's what I like. It's like you said, I was like, it's like, and it's like we can start something, with everything. So
Right.
this is where things escalate a little bit, because we realize, because we're getting to something that's going to get dark real soon. But somebody, you hear gunfire, and dude, this is where you realize, this is where the moment of what boys living in the hood really is, especially in that time zone, in that time period. Everybody ducks down. Everybody, they get down on the ground. They say, and you find out that it's just Ferris just shooting a gun wildly, automatic into the air, not shooting at
Yeah.
anybody, not doing it, just fucking around, And I'm just like, and you see people scatter like roaches up with the lights coming on.
Mm-hmm.
He's just doing that for fun, and you think like, damn, dude's like, but that shows right there how mentally destabilized they are with this, because that's the way they
Yeah.
live. And like I say, you see Trey, saying, I'm getting the fuck out of LA, basically, and he gets pulled over by the cops. And that black, and I meant to mention this earlier, but I mean, I say like, there's a cop, basically he's a black cop. And I feel this kind of interesting that it's a black cop that does this, because we see him early in the film when
Mm-hmm.
Furious, shoots at this, burglar in his house, and the guy asks him, he's like, "Whoa, we didn't ask you that, about, I called about an hour ago."
Yeah.
Okay, we can see that this is a black dude, and you are in a neighborhood that's predominantly black. You can't see the problem here, and that moment where he asked Furious, like, you know, something wrong, and Furious just gives it out to him. Something wrong,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. It's just too bad you don't know what it is, brother.
Right.
Mike. I'm like, but this shows right there how this cop is still the same way, because when he pulls him over, you know, Trey and Ricky, he pulls his gun out, because Trey says, "I didn't do nothing," and this cop says, "You think you tough, huh? You think you tough?" Pulls his gun out. I'm like, okay, so you mean to tell me it ain't about because what, whether you're a white or a black cop? It's just that if you're a cop who's pretty much, kind of what you call your authority in that sense, it proves that you don't really give a shit, because he said all these things like, I mean, I like that. I like to see that you're scared, because I can't stand you little, little shits and everything. I was like, wow, you mean to tell me this? I mean, it ain't just in the streets where people gangbang one another. It's the cops too. It's law enforcement.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. And as I say again, it doesn't have to be a white or black thing, because the white guy that seeing this is telling him, like, it's like, dude, let's go. They're like, it's like, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
So it's such a it's just a mind fuck when you think about it, and you realize like that is how it is there. And sad to say, this is what's so sad. We got that same shit here in Louisiana, man. We got that same shit. This is why I say it's like almost a foreshadowing of what we saw back then in
Yeah.
California. But we got that same shit here,
Same
because
stuff.
I know, me personally, this is what's so sad. I got pulled. This is literally 7 years ago. This happened to me. I got pulled over by 50. You know, and in case y'all don't know what 50 means, it's the same as one time or some other things, but it's basically talking about cops. You know, that's law enforcement. It's slang. Okay, but anyway, I get pulled over, and he flashes me. And the funny thing is, this was so bad about this. Make this real quick. The reason why he pulled me over because I smiled at him. I
What?
smiled. I see, this is the thing. I didn't realize that you shouldn't do that to a cop. You know, you shouldn't smile at a cop. You shouldn't smile when at all because they feel like you got something. You do something shady. And I'm just smiling. You know, smiling like, "What's up, law? I mean, what's up, officer?" Pull into this Walmart and pulled over. You know, and I'm thinking like, let's say, because he flashed me. You know, he beats me and everything. So I say, okay, I don't know what I did. What could I have done? You know, so I gave him my license, you know, registration, all that. And he tells me that, um, did you have your seatbelt on? I saw you without your seatbelt on. It's like, no, I've had my seatbelt on since I left my house. What are you talking about? You know? And I was like, oh, and I either he was trying to, you know, he was trying to do a quota, or he
Mm-hmm.
was, what you call it, profiling me or something.
Profiling. Yeah.
But all I know is, it's like, you say you pulling me over because my seatbelt. I'm pretty sure you could tell my seatbelt was on, but I know the real reason why he pulled me over because I smiled at him. Because when I told somebody else this, it's like, dude, you're not supposed to do that. You should not smile at a cop because they think that you're doing something underhanded, and in truth be told, I've never been the one to think that something as simple as being friendly to law enforcement would get you kind of in trouble, or at least get you like, yeah, you're doing something, you're doing something bad. And to me, that was an eye opener for me because it
Mm-hmm.
allowed me to realize that, yes, just because you might be friendly, you don't do anything like some of these other people out here. You are you're like I said, you could be a problem. I'm like, oh my god, but it shows right there that just because, you know, you not doing anything, just like Trey doesn't, he's not doing anything. It shows how law enforcement, you do have some crooked ones out there. You do.
Oh
That's
yeah,
just
most definitely.
that's because I don't know if you've ever been pulled over by the police for anything
Yeah.
that you didn't do.
Yeah.
Okay, say, and I mean, but me pulling now, I can understand if I get pulled over if I'm speeding because I've had been pulled over for speeding. I mean, I deserve the ticket. That's true. But if I did
Right.
not do a damn thing, it's like, you shouldn't be pulling me over for this. That shouldn't be no case there, you know. But it just again proves that you got bad and good in every part of the world, and police officers are just the same as anything else, you know.
Right.
And in this moment here, it shows that. So, well, anyway, Trey goes to Brandy's house, you know, and he's upset. You know, he's pretty much falling out. You know, he's pissed off. You know, and well, this is a moment where solidifies that, you know, homeboy got what he wanted. But I think he got more than just what he wanted as far as that. I think he wanted to really he wanted to, you know, seal the deal of knowing that, do you really care for me, you know, from
Mm-hmm.
Brand. I think that's what it boils down to. I don't look. You can smack them cheeks anytime you want to, but when someone really cares for you, that's what makes a real big difference.
Exactly.
And I feel that that's what happens here, you know, with that. But we fast forward to the next day, and this is where everything is about to fall. This is where I don't know why, but I didn't, like I say, I'm trying not to see it coming because I'm thinking like it's not going to happen. But we see that Ferris he's in this red car, pulls, just pulls up, just looking at the guys on the porch, just drives off. But we realize like something. This is just foreshadowing of something to come.
Mm-hmm.
So, but this is another integral part of the story because we got lots of stuff happening that's about to happen before the main stuff. We see that Ricky is wondering about his future. He sees something on TV, being on, but it's like whatever. And his girlfriend is telling him like, go get this cornmeal because I'm trying to fire this. And you got to think to yourself, this is where you've realized that their mom, and it didn't even register in my mind at the time. She had a favorite.
Of course.
I didn't think that was possible for a parent to have a favorite, of their kids. Because you got to remember, even Trey, I mean, even Doughboy says like, "Don't be like this motherfucker here. He got a baby, in-house pussy, and all that stuff." And it didn't dawn on me until it's like, shit, that's right. He's got all that, and it's like, and he's treating. So when Ricky goes out and asks Doughboy, if he want to come with me, he's like, "Your wife told you to go do it." He says, "It's not my wife," and Ricky said, "Fuck you." It's like this triggers Doughboy, and then it's when they get into a scuffle and whatever, and then they start fighting and everything. Mom comes out and slaps Doughboy, only Doughboy.
Mm-hmm.
And and like I say, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, no, I mean, it's like break it up, but it's like, no, she doesn't break it up. She slaps the one person that she can't stand, even though that's her child.
Yeah.
Doughboy said, "Why you hit me? Why you slap me?" You know.
Mm-hmm.
So and like I say, and then the mailman comes up and gives her the mail,
Mm-hmm.
and she said, "Ricky, your test scores." So we don't, but that's going to add on to the pain that's coming soon enough. And just a side note, you probably know this. That mailman was John Singleton making a cameo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, Trey and Ricky go to the store. They come back. Ricky's. I mean, let's say Doughboy. No, Ricky and Trey go to the store. And he's got this lottery ticket. He's scratch offs. And trying to see if he can win something. Okay, this is where it makes me wonder why these kind of things happen. But I realize this is why this environment is so toxic, because you can't go nowhere without, because if you say something the littlest bit, it offends somebody. Because Trey notices that red car, and one of the guys in the car said, "There's that motherfucker who was talking shit the other night." And it's like, so what? I mean, he was talking shit. Y'all seriously gonna run up on you? Like, and it turns out they are. So we see the car pass by the house where Trey and them, I mean, where Doughboy and them, and I love this shot because, and I gotta say something too about this film. The music in here that's done by Stanley Clark really emphasizes moments like this when Doughboy realized, like, oh shit, Rick, because when he
Right.
sees the car, it's like instantaneously, it's like, I gotta go find him. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
true enough, we have different, whatever, but that's still my brother.
It's
So
still my brother. Yeah.
I gotta run and get so he was running to get his car. I mean, going to get his gat. So he gets in the car, and I gotta say with Ricky, I mean, he says like, that's split up and everything. It's like, dude, do not split up. Stick together. Stick together so y'all may not have to deal with them. But this is going to be the folly of his. It's going to be the folly of his own doing. The music that you hear is kicking up, and it's just going kind of wild with the saxophone. It's like something's bad is about to happen, and you see this car in the background pull up, and then you see that shot where it rolls up on Trace and Rick, and he just said, "Ricky!" And
Yes,
look, I'm gonna tell you something right now.
yes, yes, yes.
I try when every time when this shot comes up, I'm thinking like, please don't let this happen. Please don't let this be what I think is about to happen. Homeboy, not Ferris, just one of his goons, one of
Mhm.
his boys shoots him, first leg. So he's like, okay, you can survive that. But then he does the kill shot, and I'm just like, this is where me personally, I'm 21, I'm watching this, and I'm just like, no, no, this is no. I'm breaking down, crying right now because I'm like, Trey is like, no, he's like Ricky, it's like, then Doughboy and other guys come in, and he's just like, I can't believe it, he's dead, he's just like, it's got, and it's like, oh my god, all these emotions come, and it gets worse when they take him back to the house,
To the house. Yeah.
and this is where it really gets irate because the mom is in disbelief that her son, her favorite son, is dead,
Hmm.
and the girl, Rick's girlfriend with the baby, and, and this is why I say this is what makes it so realistic because if we and and I'll just put this out to you. I'll ask you this: if we've experienced something like this and there was kids around, do you think that we would like break down and just like lose our shit in some sense of the word when something like that was to happen, transcend in a life like that?
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I
Think about
feel
it.
it's
You
like,
seeing you seeing the love of your life laying on the couch like that. You already know he gone. Ain't no
yeah,
coming back. All you could do is just grab the child and just,
right.
yeah.
And you hear the child just screaming and hollering, and Doughboy's trying to say take the baby because he don't want the baby to be facing all this.
Hmm.
And he tells his mom, and and I'm like, and I see I didn't catch it at first, but I didn't realize like she was pretty much blaming him for
Blaming
this.
him. Right.
It's like,
All that anger went towards Doughboy.
how are you blaming him? Like, do you really believe that he had something to do with this? I'm like, wow, and I didn't realize at the time that she really didn't. She couldn't stay. I mean, it seemed like it should have been noticeable. It should have been noticeable when we see him at the beginning when he was 10 years old or at least older, that he was not her favorite. I'm just
Right.
like, it's like everything in that moment is just tearing down. Everything's tearing down. Everything's gone. Everything. So this is a moment where Trey is like, he tells Doughboy, it's like, meet me at my house in 5 minutes. And,
Hmm.
it's like, oh shit. It's like, that's not go here. It's like, so Furious pulls up and, because he sees that Trey has his gun. And this is where you realize the father establishment is so strong because he tells his boys like, I'm not going to lose you to no shit. You're my responsibility.
Right.
You're my problem. You're my I see. I'm sorry about your friend. I'm sorry about what happened to. I'm sorry. But that's their problem. You're my problem. I'll be the same. If I had a kid, and everything, I would say the same things. Like, yes,
Right.
I, I wish you didn't have to lose that. I wish you didn't have to lose your friend, but you are my responsibility. I'm not going to lose you to this shit. You
Yeah.
know, and this is so powerful moment. But so you feel like, okay, Trey goes to his room and Brandy comes up. She's gonna go talk. This is something I didn't expect. Trey sneaks out and Doughboy picks him up and he's like, he's gone. And that moment where we see Furious, you literally see literally see that pain on his face or fear on his face, like shit. It's like he
Yeah.
did all he can to make sure his son never gets caught up in anything like that. But he's like, that moment almost seems like in his mind, it's like, did I fail? Did I fail my
Right.
child? It's like he's gonna be another casualty to all these things. So now this is where it takes a turn around because they're in the car. It's at night now. Furious has these balls, these steel balls in his hand that he twirls around. Which I don't know how Fishburne does it, but he did a great job of spinning around in his hand. But I think it's something to kind of throw off tension or anxiety or whatever. I don't know what it was, but
Hmm.
if you watch the movie while Trey is in the car, still in the riding around, you hear the sound effect of those balls twirling
Hmm.
around in his hand. But when he stops doing it, something in it's like it's signaling because someone said to this to me. I think it was even Rick. You told me this. I think that was something to signal him to say, come to your senses and get off. Don't go through this. Don't do
Right.
this. So, and like I said, I didn't know where it was going to go. So when we see that the guys who did the thing, it's like Ferris. They had this nice, fancy, burger place, and they're just sitting there casually, just eating their food and whatever. It's like they didn't do nothing wrong. They didn't like blithely just having fun talking about their own situation. I'm like, it's like, motherfucker, one of the boys just took a life, and you mean to tell me you don't give a shit? You just eating your damn fries and whatever. It's like
But
it's.
it goes back also to that's their normal.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? That's their normal to kill somebody, take revenge out on somebody, and then let's just go eat a burger and fries.
Yeah,
It was normal for them.
and I guess that's the kind of thing. Realize like the enormity of that is so blinding. It's like they don't think about it.
Right?
But
They didn't see no wrong in that.
yeah, so they were looking for the guys, and then they just say Monster Stay. They've been out there for 3 hours. So they say, well, let's go get something to eat. Might as well.
Right.
And it's like a moth to the flame. They see him. It's like Dookie said, there they go right there.
Mm-hmm.
I said, turn off the lights. It's like, so this is the moment where you just kind of like, okay, how's this going to go down? And it's kind of like in this shot here, which is not right here, but right there where he shoots them. I mean, he shoots the guys that run away. And the funny thing is, not funny and haha, but funny. It's like they run, they know what's going on. It's like it's a drive by, and it's like he say, "Don't go my way, don't follow me." It's like no, they're too damn stupid. They're too damn dumb to run different other ways because it's like they probably say, "Well, they're gonna get hit anyway." So they get hit um, by the machine gun that Monster shot. Doughboy gets out because he really wants blood. He goes and shoots the one that did shit, but he don't really know who shot who. He just knows that they're responsible. So he
Mm-hmm.
shoots that one, which I'm kind of blame. I'm kind of and I don't know how you felt about it, but I'm kind of glad he got them. But at the same time, I realized like this wouldn't bring your brother back. You
Right.
know, I don't know how you would felt. I don't know how you felt about it when you saw that.
At the moment, I was glad. I was
Mm-hmm.
happy.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, get him. Look at him in his eyes and get him.
yeah,
Now, it's not gonna bring your brother back. But
right,
who's to say if he wouldn't have did that, they would have came back after him also. You see what I'm
true,
saying?
right.
So, yeah.
Well, he like I say, he shoots that one that did kill Ricky, and then he gets the main guy who loves to start shit. You know, he tells like, and he didn't. I remember when Mama watched it when I showed this to her for the first time. She even said, you know, it was like this guy didn't even beg for forgiveness. He didn't beg for no kind of retribution for what he did. You know, he just said, I didn't pull the trigger. And then he said, "Come on, man," but he said, "Fuck you," and
Mm-hmm.
he didn't ask. He didn't ask for no forgiveness. None. He just said, and I feel that's the thing. It's like these guys think they got a short shelf life, and whatever happens next, it's like that's it. It's done,
Yeah.
and it's like don't worry about it no more. So, but um, but no, he kills him, and it's the next morning, and it's like nothing really happened. It's like, damn, dude, it's like that happened. And I know for me, and I know for you too, something like that went down here, you'll be like, we're still talking about it, but it's like,
Yeah.
no, you're not going to talk about it. It's just like it happened, and you move on.
Move on.
And that's the crazy thing about knowing that that's the way it is, in that environment. So we see that Trey's out, and before we see the next day, we see that when he comes home and Furious just sees him, Furious can't say anything.
Right.
I mean, what's he going to say to him? It's like, because and it may and I'm and I'll ask you this: if I had gone, if I had gone out with somebody and I was going to get revenge, but I came back, what do you think, Mama? What do you think your grandma would have done? What do you think her response would have been if I came back and you know, and I'm safe and sound, but I came back, but she told you, she told me not to do something or follow up on that. What do you think she would have done?
I think she'd have slapped the shit out of you and then probably hugged you, to
Yeah,
be honest. Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking too. That, or she might have done that and said, "Get your ass out of my damn house." Don't
Right. Right.
But but yeah, I mean that's the thing is that she would definitely hug me, and she would, yeah, I would observe that slap too, because like
Oh
that's
yeah.
you know. But he doesn't say anything. He doesn't say anything because he realized, like, hey, I did all I could to make sure you're responsible, be a man, but what am I going to do now? I mean, you made your decision, so he closes the door. And to me, I think silence was worse than him saying anything to him.
Him
You know,
saying yeah.
yeah. So so anyway, like I say, it's the next day, and like I say, we're it's this nice day. Everybody's playing. And we see Doughboy selling rocks. Just blithely there.
Hmm.
And this is the moment where you just it kind of sums up the whole thing about what people who live in South Central deal. He says it best. Either they don't know, don't show, or don't care what's going on in the hood. You know,
Yeah.
and I feel that that's such a strong statement, because at that time you rarely see that kind of stuff, at least here, being
Hmm.
broadcast. And I
Right.
know 1 year later we would see the infamous, LA riots being broadcast, but that happened because because of cops and all that shit. So, but we see Doughboy really show his, and you really see Ice Cube's acting ability here. He's a rapper, but he's really showing his pain, knowing that how he knows that I lost a brother.
I lost a brother. Yeah.
And he says that you know I ain't got no brother, but he says I ain't got no mother either.
Hmm.
He says like she loved that food more than she loved me. And I was like, I can't believe that that be the case. But then it's like, no, yeah, it's. I didn't think that's possible for a parent to love one child more than the other, and it's like I was like, wow, But all at the same time, all these things, they're talking back and forth, and he tells me, I understand why you got out of the car, and
Mm-hmm.
I would say, you don't want that coming back on you, because I feel that was his first time killing somebody, Doughboy. Maybe, I'm not for sure, but it just lets you know that in that environment is what you have to deal with, and how you're supposed to survive. But he tells Trey, it's like, I gotta go, exactly. And Trey tells me, like, say, Doe, he's like, you still got one brother left, man. And I'll just say that I'm breaking down watching this, crying and everything, because we see text come up saying, Doughboy buries his brother, buries Ricky, and then we see something about, and it's kind of eerie when we see it. When we see that fade out of him, out of the
Mm-hmm.
picture, you see it says 2 weeks later he was murdered.
He was murdered. Yeah.
I was like, damn, it's like, well, that's how. But we see that Trey would get out that environment, and him
Get
and
out the environment. Yeah.
and that's the thing, And then, and like I said, the movie ends with the title of Boys in the Hood saying "Increase the Peace," which is something that John Singer was trying to get on the title of the movie itself, but that the studio wouldn't let him do that. But
Yeah.
like I say, the movie ends, and of course you get, and see, when I went to go see this is what pissed me off. Now, I wish that I could have heard the song that plays after the credits start rolling, which is "How to Survive in South Central." I'm like, why y'all? I mean, this. I don't know what it was back then. Now I'll ask you this: when you went to go see it, did they cut the movie? Did they cut the movie off when the credits came up?
They did.
Fuck. See,
Yeah, they did.
okay. See, that was that. Either that's a conspiracy, or that's just saying like we don't want the same ordeal that happened in other places happen, which was a shootout. Like it's like, well, this wasn't the norm here
Right.
yet, anyway. So I'm like,
But they probably just didn't want to take a chance. You know,
yeah,
who knows?
but that's crazy though. But the end result is the film really did something to me, let me know that right off the bat that this is not your typical, and you want to try to support your other black, you know, talents out there. You want to like say support and show that hey,
Mhm.
what you go see, whether it be a comedy, whether it be a horror, whether it be a sci-fi, it's like show your support. But I think the reason I went to go see this film was because I was curious. I was curious because of the buzz about it, and then the controversy about the shooting and everything. So I say okay. And the funny thing is, I don't think it was released here until later that month in July.
Mhm.
At least I think that's what I could be. I could be wrong. I can. My memory is a little bad. It's been 35 years. So, but all I know is when I did go see it, you know, I'm just kind of like saying like, okay, it shouldn't be that bad. It is just, I mean, yeah, it's bad, but it's you get the full dose of what the environment that John Singer was trying to say and was trying to project, and it's come a staple in watching because, like, say, you got other films that came after this that really honed in.
After that, yeah.
That were much. I mean, I'm like, shit. Some of these movies were weak. This was like I say this because really, if you watch this film, it's a. I'm not saying it's a lighter side of the hood. It's there. You see that they things are. It's kind of more like how our situation is. We're more sheltered. It's more
Mhm.
sheltered kind of effect. But other films that came after this, they didn't hold back. They showed like, oh, we're going full throttle, showing this shit in the household, in the streets, everything. It's like we're showing that. this shit is like this ain't no Disneyland. This ain't no fairy tale. This is some real live shit.
Yeah.
And if you're not aware of it, it's like this is what it is. So it's it was good to
But
know
Boys
that.
in the Hood opened the door for all of that.
I think it did. I mean, you
It
could
did.
say it was Colors, but I don't think Colors was that because Colors was dealing with uh, was strange, dealing with police force. He was dealing with cops. This was actually dealing with the
This was
actual
actually right.
Mhm. They was
Yeah.
dealing with them. They was dealing with people who actually lived that world, lived that
Yeah.
climate. So it was that kind of thing. So anyway, but that's like I say, that's pretty much what the movie was trying to do. And through this, John Singleton would make history some months later, being the first black film director being nominated for the Academy Award for Best Director, but being the youngest person to be nominated for Academy Award for Best Director. So he achieved something that no one expected because before him was Orson Welles, who was the
Hmm.
youngest director to be nominated for Best Director. John Singleton beat him out by 1 year, and that's crazy, you know. And it's just funny how it's like it's great to know that he stuck to his guns, quote unquote, to make this film because he had this in the back of his mind since he was in the early '80s, and he pushed it to get it made by others, because others, studio heads, I don't know, we want to take a chance with this. Like, dude,
Right.
stop being a bitch and come on with this. So it's like, yeah, let's try to see where this goes to and see where it might take us. And for the record, when you see a film like this gave the outlet for Ice Cube to start
Hmm.
making his own films, because we we got the comedies like Friday,
Friday.
Players Club, but at the same time they were, they were comedic, but they still had that element of what it felt like to live in that world. It still had that.
Yeah.
It's like that's real. That is real. That's real stuff that's going on. So you say it opened the doors for a lot of things to come, but I feel that toys. I'm about to say toys. Boys in the Hood really manifested something that let Hollywood say, "Hey, stop trying to be so, you know, safe and sound with this. Like, try to. Y'all have done it before. Go ahead with this.
Right.
You know."
Right.
So, but anyway, with that being said, what's your overall thoughts with this film as far as its impact on you and anything, and just in general? What's your all thought process on
The struggles.
it?
The struggles of young black people and
Yeah,
what they have to go through and what they have to see. I mean, we got different aspects of it. We got from Dope Boy. You got a mama that don't love you like she love your brother. So you're feeling less than. So of course you're gonna go out there in the streets to feel more of. You know what I'm saying?
right.
And then you have the point of Trey having to go stay with his father to get that father figure. Because no matter what, and you know this, I couldn't teach Suge how to be a man. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I had to send him on with Javante. I can't teach Javante how to be a man.
Yeah.
That's what we got D for. He needed that male figure to
Mhm.
show him how to be a strong black man.
Right.
And then you
Respond.
just have the aspect of it from getting out of the ghetto, going to make something of yourself, like Trey and Brandy did.
Right.
Then you have the aspect of Ricky's story. Supposed to have been a success story, but turned into tragedy.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It just, like I said, when I watched it, when I first watched it, I didn't understand it. I had to watch it a couple of more times as I was getting older to fully understand the aspect of it and what it's done for the Black community.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I love it personally. I mean, I haven't lived it. I've known people who've lived it, but it just teaches us things.
Right. And I guess that's the gleaming thing about that. It's like because like I say, for me, it's really make me realize like these like yes, this is the life that others and it kind of makes me appreciate
Mm-hmm.
my situation where I was at, what was brought up, because I truly can say that if I would, and I kind of ask myself these questions sometimes. If I was in that particular arena, would I be the same way? Probably so, or maybe not. I can't really say.
Right.
We can never really say what we would and won't do. Because like we can put ourselves out there, but hell, we may not be like that. You know.
Right. Right.
So, but like you say, it's yeah, it gives a very poignant look at what individuals who grew up in that situation. Because as I said before, you can be, like I say, you could be Hispanic, you can be, you could be Australian, you could be Russian, you could be any kind of color of the spectrum, and you might be going through these ordeals. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's been shows I've seen where that deal with this, and it's predominantly white, but they go through some
Mm-hmm.
hellacious bullshit dealing with
Yeah.
trying to make ends meet, trying to keep your house up, trying, and like it's all these kind of things manifest, make you realize like nobody's immune from anything that the environment is throwing at you.
Right.
Now, true enough, we, like I say, we were fortunate not to have that, not to creep in us, but we're aware of it. We
Yeah.
know it, and hopefully we know we never have to face these kind of things ever in our lives, because like I say, as we get older, we try to make sure that we stay with what we've been taught, and never forget that, because the second something happens that throws that off, it's like, oh shit, I guess we never really learned anything. And I think that
Exactly.
went down with this, but like I say, Boys in the Hood, it's one of those films that I can honestly say is just those. It's just like I say, it's as it says, once upon a time in South Central LA. And at the tagline says down there, it ain't no fairy tale.
Ain't no fairy tales. Yeah.
You know. And he knows how it says down there, coming soon to a hood near you. you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But no, the end result is John Singleton made a film that took you on a ride, that took you on a way of the lifestyle that really made you think and made you harness in some thought process. And sadly, he passed away 7 years ago, which is like wow. I mean, he who knows what he would have been doing now, you know.
Right.
But he achieved a lot in his the time he been around. But this little thing that he started with this film, you can see that it still has that effect on many years now. And like I say, it was
Most
much, yeah. So it's influenced lots of people. It's influenced a lot of people, and I feel like that's the great thing about this. And knowing that it's done that, it's never going to be forgotten, because
right.
it's there. And like I say, we're here talking about it because it's something that I wanted to talk about, because like I say, it's rarely that films get talked about like this, but I feel that once in a while, and I don't feel because necessarily because I'm black talking about it. I feel like because how the emotional resonance really affected me, as to see both of my eyes, maybe yours too, to what's lifestyle really makes you appreciate, or makes you think how you do have the survival instinct of knowing that
Mm-hmm.
if it comes to shove, could you do what they have to do, or would you not, but appreciate where you come from. You know,
Exactly.
some people might say it's like, okay, I'm living in this, I'm living on this kind of situation, but it's like, yeah, but you got to remember too, if you're in that kind of climate, you might be a little bit more off putting than you think you are, you know,
Right.
and that's the end result of that. But anyway, but that's pretty much the talk of this film and everything. And I appreciate your time, Emily Pooh, for this because, like I say, I was just shooting blanks with this, but I say I'm gonna see if you want to be a part of this because I figure like give your 2 cents to talk about it and feel like what this film and how it affected you and all these things. So I appreciate you coming on here and talking about it with me.
Anytime, anytime. I enjoyed it.
Yes, well, I'm glad you did. Like I said, I had fun doing it too. I didn't, well, to be honest with you, I didn't know it was going to go as long as we did. But as I said before, when you get into these talks, you don't know how long it's going to run. So,
Yeah,
but
you can't
that's
put no
one of the reasons,
time on it.
yeah, well, that's one of the reasons why I started a little early because, usually I start a little later, but I feel like let me start
Yeah.
a little earlier. That way, we never know what might go from. But anyway, um, I know you don't have no YouTube channel or anything like that, but me, I do. And for anyone watching, I'm not going to be doing jack shit for the next week and a half because I'm going to be in Chicago, up in
Yeah.
but doing the G Fest thing. So you won't see my face doing nothing on here, until I come back. But no, thank you, Impu, again for this. And um, like I say, you just like I say, this was good for me, and I hope this was good for you.
It was.
And like I say, hopefully when I come back when you bring it back, we'll talk because that was the thing I wanted to do too. I wanted to bring you on here to do set it off first, but I thought about this Boys in the Hood. It's like I want to talk about this, and I said let me bring her on and see if she want to talk about it. And sure enough, I'm glad you did come on here. But with set it off, it's gonna be down the line somewhere, and I know you definitely have something to put some input on that for sure. Talking about
Of
that film.
course. Of course. Include me in.
Yes. So, but that's pretty much it. But that's down the line. That's someone down the future way. And like I say, just be ready when we get to talking about it. Okay.
All righty.
All right. But as I always close out on my videos, I'd always tell people this, and hopefully they're listening. Y'all take care. Y'all please be patient. And as I always say it, y'all keep the film legacy alive. So have a good time.